Good evening, everybody. Welcome back, Spartan Nation. We now bring in Spartan Nation extraordinaire, the great coach Chuck Grenier, longtime state of Michigan high school football and basketball coach. Now he is retired and he is making fish, elk, deer, bear, pheasants, squirrels, and rabbits as miserable as he once made opposing coaches. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Good. You join us each and every week to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And today we're going to talk about Michigan State in general, not just football, although football is certainly going to be a key part of it. I'd like your thoughts and your perspective a little bit, Coach, on college football returning. There's a lot of doomsayers saying, well, it shouldn't. The point of the matter is it's going to. I talked with one athletic director of a Power 5 program that said there's no choice. If there's no football, athletic departments are going bankrupt, and the sports as we know it are over. It's done. He goes, it's coming back. He goes, you just mark my words. It will maybe just be conference games, but it is coming back. I mean, to me, now baseball announces that they're going to get the season going in July. How critical is it for the psyche of the nation to have football in the fall?
I think it's imperative. I mean, we love our sports. We love watching our favorite teams. We love watching sports in general. I think it's going to come back. You know, it seems like at this point with this situation in the United States and the world right now, we have basically two camps, people that are just eager and ready to put this behind them and move forward, and the other group that are the chicken littles that are just the sky is falling type people. That this is something that happens every year, that we have this flu. I know this virus is aggressive, but it is something that happens every year that we deal with one way or the other. And I think the sports are going to come back. I mean, we love the sports, and the athletic departments in the colleges are funded by football, so it has to come back for monetary reasons alone. So I'm hoping that everything is going to work out real well right now, and that everything is going to get back on schedule.
Coach, for you, I mean, we've never seen anything like it. And I have said this before. I don't consider NASCAR one of the major sports. I'm not minimizing it. I'm not mocking NASCAR. It's not football, basketball, or baseball. I think whatever sport gets back first, we saw with the NFL draft with ratings, whichever sport gets back first is going to hit a bonanza. And when I saw baseball, I was thinking an 82-game season, because I already think their season is too long. I think baseball is going to see a massive upswing in popularity if they get back. Would you agree with that?
I would think so. Everybody's looking for outlets right now, what to do with their time and their recreation. And I think with baseball comes back right away, I think watching baseball is going to be something that people are really going to enjoy more than ever. I think baseball is going to be leading the way.
Coach, I want to ask you about recruiting, because you are a guy who's had so many players you coached, recruited, who've gone on to play in college. I was talking to a head coach, a Power 5 head coach recently, who told me he thought there will be more decommitments this year than ever at all schools, not just, we weren't talking about Michigan State, we're talking about all schools. He says, because now kids are forced to commit because they don't know if they're even going to be able to make visits, and they don't want to get stuck without a school. And he said, if football's back in the fall and visits start to come, he goes, I think there'll be more decommitments than ever as kids begin to scramble. And he said he thinks that the effects of COVID is going to go well into next year, even if football comes back. What do you think of what he's saying about all of a sudden now if kids get to go take visits and everything else, it's going to change the game?
Well, last week we talked about brand names and Coach Tucker putting his name out there and getting it in circulation, and the energy that was being created by that. Now, the other part about that is, do the prospective football players, the commits, the players coming in, do they feel comfortable in their settings? So now you're seeing recruiting over the internet and the excitement and the energy that we keep hearing about, like with Coach Tucker and everything, that is bringing recruits into Michigan State. Just talk about Michigan State. But the bottom line is going to be once they get out there and they meet in a face-to-face situation with other players, see what's going on around uh, the locker room and the weight room and the other players in that, is it comfortable for them? And I think that's going to be a big factor, like you're talking about, a lot of decommits in the fall as they find places that makes them feel more comfortable than over the internet. So I think there's going to be a problem there. I don't see it as a major problem, but there's going to be decommits.
Digging in deep, talking on the good, the bad, and the ugly with Spartan Sports. Coach, I want to ask you from a little bit of a different angle. Mel Tucker picks up 2 more commitments this week. He now sits here at 12. I mean, again, we say it every week, but everything since the guy got here, everything he's done has been gold. Your thoughts?
Yeah, the players that he's getting, I really like what I'm seeing. I look at their highlight films, and they're football players for sure. And the thing that keeps coming back, and when you talking about the players, or when the players are giving the interviews to you, or I read about them in the newspaper, is the energy that he's bringing, the change and the mentality in the other players. It's really he's really doing a phenomenal job, and I really like the players that he's getting.
Coach, I want to ask you, sticking on these lines, when you look at all the uncertainty around the world of college football and everything else, I've had a couple of people send in some questions for you. Would you like to? Do you mind answering some questions from people?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. The first one comes to us from Rodney Rollins. Rodney says, Hondo, can you ask Coach, with all the guys that he's had recruited who went on and played in college, what is the biggest thing in recruiting as a high school coach that ever stood out to him from any head coach at any level? He doesn't have to use a name. I just have always wondered about recruiting from a high school head coach's level. What's the one thing he's ever seen a head coach do that really stood out to him?
I think it's the ability to come into a room and to put a player at ease and make the player feel comfortable, and to be direct and honest with the players, and let the players know that they're truly interested in them, and that they also give them an idea of where they stand when they come in. That always was something that I thought really stood out from college recruiters and coaches.
Okay, and then the second part of Rodney's question is, as a coach, if somebody sat in your office with one of your players and negative recruited against another school, did you ever call the head coach out to the player after he left?
I really didn't have much experience with the negative recruiting. Usually when players were being recruited, they came in and they were pretty forthright and just tried to pump up their program the best that they could and give the player an idea of where they stood when they came into the college situation.
All right, and then the last one comes to us. This comes to us from Brad Keln, Keln, Brad Keln. Brad says, Hondo, can you ask Coach, last week in your 3 questions article, you talked about, other than the tangibles of height, weight, size, and speed, the number one thing you've heard coaches talk about in recruiting is hips. Can you ask Coach Grenier to expand on that?
Well, it talks about flexibility, the ability, especially if we're talking about defensive backs, and we probably were at that time, I can't recall, but the ability to turn, to adjust, to go forward, go back, to go to the left and the right, and how much flexibility, how much strength, how much burst they had when they had to do those kind of things.
All right. Do you mind if we do one more?
No, go ahead.
This comes from Tricia Smith. Hondo, I'm a single mom. My son is a freshman in high school and has started getting some interest from colleges, not big, huge schools, but definitely colleges that would allow him to get a free education. I'm wondering about, should I borrow the money from the bank to get him specialized education and teaching, to get him a personal trainer, to get people to work for him? Can you ask Coach what he thinks? Does he do that? And what would be the best place to do it? I'm not, only a single mom. I'm going to have to borrow the money. But if I have to borrow $10,000 or $20,000 to get him a free education, I'm willing to do it.
Well, I think probably the best thing that she could probably do at this time is improve his diet. Make sure that he is out and active during the course of the day. Watch the people that he's hanging around with. But I don't really think she has to go out and borrow money at this time. Nature will take its course. He's either going to become strong enough, fast enough, whatever, to make the college levels. But to go out and to borrow money to put yourself into that situation is not good. His regular football coach and football team that he would be competing with in school, they should be going to some camps. That would be probably the best thing for her son, would be go to camps, individual camps and to team camps, and try to show the college people just exactly what it is. But improve his diet, make sure that he's exercising, lifting weights, that sort of thing, running. But you really don't have to go out of your way and get yourself, unless maybe he's a quarterback or something along that line where you really need some really good technological training, technique training. But other than that, don't put yourself out. You're a single mom. Just make sure he's eating well, sleeping, getting good exercise.
He's the great coach, Chuck Grenier. Know him, love him, appreciate him. The good, the bad, and the ugly with Michigan State Athletics.